Dr. Bokil, good evening. Dr. Bokil, have you joined? हा सर जॉईन करतो ना. स्लाइड्स मिळायला चांगल्या आहेत, मी बघितल्या. हो, तुम्हाला ते सोयीचं असेल तर तसं करा, नाही तर आपलं कालचं सकाळचं व्यवस्थित झालं होतं. तुम्ही व्हॉट एव्हर इज कन्व्हिनियंट टू यू, बट फर्स्ट टू जॉईन आय विल हॅव टू मेक यू को होस्ट फर्स्ट. हो, आधी पण जॉईन करा ना, कारण तुम्हाला को होस्ट करायला लागेल मला. हो हो. डॉक्टर Bokil, आय एम
जोशी
नॉट
सर.
एबल टू सी यू सर.
अच्छा.
हा
सर सर, मला
हा
कोहोस्ट करा
बोला.
तुम्ही. मला कोहोस्ट करा. मी होस्ट झालो होतो युट्यूबवर लाईव्ह करण्यासाठी, आणि आता तुम्हाला होस्ट केलंय, तर आता मी
आता
कोहोस्ट नाही आहे.
तुम्ही MLA सर राजू जोशी, तुम्ही नाही तुम्ही बोला, पण तुम्ही कुठं दिसत नाही मला.
तुम्ही सध्या होस्ट आहात,
डॉक्टर खाटोड.
राजू. हा
मी होस्ट आहे. तुम्ही
हा.
तुमचे 00
तुम्ही
MLA सर राजू जोशी तुम्ही आहात का? ओके.
हा हा.
नाही तुम्ही कुठलं
नाही नाही, मी आहे सध्या एक हे MLSR स्लॅश राजू जोशी. MLSR
MLA
स्लॅश
सर
राजू
स्लॅश
जोशी.
राजू जोशी होस्ट, त्यालाही होस्ट करून
हा,
टाकू. होस्ट
मला
करतो.
कोहोस्ट करा. हा.
ओके.
मी होस्ट
केलं
मी
केलं.
होस्ट झालो होतो. ठीक आहे, ठीक आहे, ओके.
ओके. डॉक्टर कमलेश, गुड इव्हिनिंग.
Hi.
डॉक्टर Bokil sir, have you joined? Dr. Bokil sir. You are requested to please mute yourself, all the participants. Welcome on the Medico-Legal Society of India. Please mute yourself. All participants, please mute yourself. Dr. Khatod, please mute everybody. Dr. Khatod, please mute everybody.
Everyone is muted now.
நாங்க இங்கதான் நாங்க போயிட்டு வருவோம் நாங்க. পার্টিসিপেশন এখানে জয়েন পার্টিসিপেশন
এটা কি পড়ো, ঠিক করে পড়ো।
सर, एक हफ्ता हो गया सेशन स्टार्ट हुए, फिजिक्स की क्लास ही नहीं हो रही है। आज फिजिक्स की क्लास थी तो आपने दूसरा टीचर भेज दिया।
which we use for practice.
Yes.
So I think maybe he is unable to join. I will just remove
Capacity is
myself
reached to
from
100.
this. हो,
Our 100
तर आता
participants.
काय करूया?
Uh,
I will have to remove myself from this now.
सर पण मग तुम्ही कसं काय हे होईल? मी रिमूव्ह होतो ऍक्च्युली. 100 झालेत पूर्ण आणि होस्ट तुम्ही आहात ना सध्या?
मी होस्ट आहे, पण माझं अजून दोन आहेत ना माझे.
2 आहेत का? अच्छा, एकाला तुम्ही रिमूव्ह करा. चालेल.
आता
आता 100 तरी आहेच अजून.
हो ना, 100च्या वरती जाऊ शकणार नाही, पण विल हॅव टू रिमूव्ह समबडी, पण त्यांना जॉईनच करता येणार नाही. बरं, आता मी 00 होस्ट मी आहे ते आता डॉक्टर खाटोळ आधी तुम्हाला रिमूव्ह करतो केले, त्यांना येऊ दे बरं
अच्छा,
का.
चालेल.
डॉक्टर खाटोळ
ओके, हो.
तुम्ही
ठीक
बाहेर
आहे.
पडा.
ओके.
डॉक्टर खाटोळ आपण फोनवरती
ओके.
बोलू शकतो.
ठीक आहे, चालेल. ओके.
डॉक्टर वकील कॅन यू कम इन नाव? डॉक्टर वकील, डॉक्टर वकील कॅन यू जॉइन नाव?
Yeah.
डॉक्टर वकील कॅन यू जॉइन नाव?
Hello, Rajiv.
डॉक्टर वकील कॅन यू जॉइन नाव? डॉक्टर वकील, हा बोला. हो नाही, पण आता ते काय आहे, मी 3-4 जणांना हे केलंय, पोटी Audience members, I'm grateful to you for giving such a good response. There are more than 100 people have joined. So before Dr. Bokil joins, I have to keep some people in waiting room. So I'm going to keep some of you in waiting room. After he joins, I'll take you all in. Please wait for some time. Bear with me for some time. So I hope you understand if I put you outside in the waiting room. I put about 10 people in waiting room. I'm going to put some more, and then after Dr. Bokil joins, I will allow everybody to come in. Okay? Please bear with me for some time. Dr. Bokil, can you join now? So after we'll ask them, some of them to leave. You join now. I am removing some people now. Unfortunately, I have to do that. तुम्ही प्रयत्न कर झालाय जॉईन एक मिनिट पण तुम्ही काय नावाने जॉईन झालाय 94 एकच मिनिट नाही ते होईल तुम्ही मला दिसायला पाहिजे आधी मला तुम्हाला तुमचं नाव जरा बोला तुम्ही बरं याच्यावरती फोनवरती नाही तिथे याच्यात मला बोललं पाहिजे तुम्ही युनिस ब्लू हेल्थ तुमचं कम्प्युटर का युनिस ब्लू हेल्थ आहे का
ते अजून आता म्यूट झाले ते अनम्यूट झाले आता व्हिडिओ ऑन होईल बहुतेक
आता
आता
पीव्ही
मी-
बोकिल मला दिसतंय. ओके, गुड.
आता दिसतोय.
आता आय
you are
हॅव
able.
टू मेक यू co-host first.
हा
Making you co-host. So now I can see you now. Okay. Now everybody else is muted except you and me.
हा,
आणि
आता काय
तो
आता
मला
आता शेअर करेल.
हा आता तुम्ही शेअर करा स्लाइड.
अनम्यूट केलं पाहिजे. ओके. प्रेस होस्ट डिसेबल्ड
खाटोड तुम्ही
पार्टिसिपंट.
जॉईन करा. डॉक्टर खाटोड.
डिसेबल्ड स्क्रीन शेअरिंग म्हणतात. होस्ट डिसेबल्ड.
डॉक्टर खाटोड तुम्ही जॉईन करा आता.
नाही, माझे शेअर होत नाहीत अजून मीटिंग्स.
नाही तुम्ही मी सांगितलं तुमची तुम्ही जर का आता पॉवर पॉईंट तुमची डेस्कटॉपवरची शेअर करायला ट्राय करत असाल करू नका. प्लीज ईमेल माझी ओपन करा. मी सांगितलं त्याप्रमाणे पण सकाळी केलं तसं करा. इट विल वर्क. डॉक्टर खाटोड यू प्लीज जॉईन.
व्हिडिओ
ते
दिसलाय.
नंतर आता फक्त 3च शीट शिल्लक आहे तिथं माझ्याकडे. मी बाकीच्या रिमूव्ह करतो आता.
तुम्ही शेअर करता का तिकडून मीटिंग हे
नाही
स्लाइड्स?
सर तुम्ही करा. मी सांगितलं तसं तुम्ही ईमेल ओपन करा माझी. नाही तुम्ही नाही डॉक्टर खाटोड तुमच्याशी नाही बोलत. तुम्ही जॉईन करा.
मी याच्यातून बाहेर जाऊ का आता?
नाही यातून बाहेर पडू नका. तुम्ही तुमच्या खालती स्क्रीनवरती तिथं तुम्हाला गुगलचं गोल दिसेल बघा. गुगल दिसतंय खाली तुम्हाला.
शेअर दिसतंय मला.
हा मग शेअर वरती जा. शेअर वरती क्लिक केलं की तुमची तुम्हाला स्लाइड तो नाही आधी तुम्ही पहिल्यांदा जीमेलने ओपन केलंय का मी सांगितलं ते.
तुमचं जीमेल तुमचं आता हे मला हे मिळालं ना, आयडी मिळाली तुमची, मीटिंगचं कनेक्शन मिळालं.
नाही सर प्लीज ऐकून घ्या. तुम्ही
हो
ईमेलनी मला स्लाइड पाठवल्या आता.
हो
ती ईमेल आधी तुम्ही ओपन करा. आता आहे तर इथलं कनेक्शन तसंच राहू द्या. हलवू नका आता.
बर बर.
जीमेलला जा. दुसऱ्या टॅब वरती जीमेल आहे बघा.
हो आहे
हा
जीमेल.
तिथे जीमेलला जा. परत स्टेप बाय स्टेप सांगतो तुम्हाला. जीमेलला जा.
हो एक मिनिट. हा जीमेलला गेलो मी आता.
ईमेल मध्ये मला पाठवलेली ईमेल ओपन करा. स्लाइड पाठवलेली.
हो
डॉक्टर खाटोड प्लीज जॉईन.
I have joined the meeting.
जॉईन ना. ओके. So now
No.
I'll take everybody else in after the program starts.
डॉक्टर तुम्ही शेअर केलं तर बऱ्या पडतील स्लाइड्स.
तुम्ही याच्यावरती गेला का? जीमेल मध्ये गेला का?
हो जीमेल मध्ये गेलोय. तुम्हाला पाठवलेली स्लाइड आता
एडिट मोड मध्ये. आपण सकाळी केलो होतो ना सर.
हो हो स्लाइड्स मला
ऑडियन्स
पाठवली.
प्लीज बेअर विथ फॉर सम टाइम.
माझ्या स्लाइड्स का दिसत नाहीयेत.
हॅलो.
हॅलो. तुमचं
आय मेड यू कोर्स.
तुम्ही वाटतं शेअर करा ना डॉक्टर जोशी, ते सोपं जाईल.
मी
तुम्ही शेअर करा, मला तर जमत नाही आता इथे.
डोंट वरी, आय विल डू इट. ठीक आहे. मी को-होस्ट केलं तुम्हाला परत सर. आता करा बरं शेअर. परत शेअर करायचा ट्राय करा. शेअर स्क्रीन वरती जा. तो टॅब ओपन करा. होईल. नाहीतर मी करतो लगेच.
हा आता आली आहे स्लाइड.
आली ना. हा ती
आता
शेअर
आली.
म्हणा तिकडे. व्हेरी गुड,
हा
व्हेरी गुड.
हा
हा येते
आता
दिसते. आता ते तुम्ही खालती जे बटन्स आहेत ना तिकडे तुमचा पॉवर पॉईंट तुम्ही वापरता ना,
हो हो हो
तर खालती तिसरं बटन आहे त्याला क्लिक करा. मोठी करा अजून अजून खाली तिथे
हो
क्लिक
हो
करा. हा करेक्ट करा क्लिक इकडे.
बरोबर आहे. आता आली. ते पॉज
होईल
का
ओपन.
आले? पॉज येत नाही. स्क्रीन शेअरिंग इज पॉज म्हणतात ते.
नाही
स्क्रीन
पॉजचं काही
शेअर
कारण नाही कारण यू आर You are co-host.
हो
बघा आता स्लाइड पुढे मागे शेअर करू नाही तर मग आय विल स्टार्ट शेअरिंग युअर स्लाइड्स. एकच मिनिट थांबू आता आपण. ऑलरेडी 15 minutes लेट.
नाही सॉरी फॉर दॅट पण
नाही इट्स ओके.
येते
पण,
होते स्लाइड होती.
नाही
हा,
मोठी
डॉक्टर
नाही
जोशी.
दिसत आहे. मोठी नाही
हा.
दिसत, नाही दिसत आहे मोठी.
तुम्हाला दिसत नाही. मी आता स्लाइड शो केलेला आहे.
नाही नाही सर, तुम्ही तुमचं शेअरिंग मी बंद करतो. आय विल शेअर द स्लाइड्स. डोंट वरी. आय विल शेअर द स्लाइड्स ना. ओके, आय विल डू द नीडफुल. यू डोंट वरी.
ओके, मी स्टॉप शेअरिंग करू इथून.
हो, तुम्ही स्टॉप शेअरिंग करा.
तुम्हाला मी दिसतोय आता.
होय, तुम्ही दिसताय. तुमच्या लेटेस्ट स्लाइड ज्या तुम्ही मला पाठवल्या मी आता शेअर करणार आहे. 1 मिनिट थांबा.
ओके.
It's time we'll start doing it. कारण काय otherwise audience will become
हो
impatient. So now you can slides. All right.
ओके. Done.
Okay, just a minute. Please wait for a minute. Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Rajiv Joshi, founder member of Medico-Legal Society of India. I am grateful to all of you for giving such a huge response. And any participants who come after this will have to go on YouTube. Are already over. So, Dr. Bokil, before I start introducing you, I must congratulate you. This is first program in which the number has crossed 100. So we
Thank
have
you.
to be very grateful to you for accepting our invitation. Dr. Bokil has been our mentor since our medical college days. He was administrator and professor of surgery in KM College. After he was director in Ruby Hall Clinic. He was medical director in Al Hayat Hospital, Bahrain. Ex-CEO of Medical College in Chitgaon, Bangladesh. Ex-professor of Health Insurance, National Insurance Academy, Pune. Professor of Forensic Medicine, Desh Medical, Pune. And then now he's principal of Sanjay Healthcare Academy, Pune. So he's got vast experience, active, expansive career over a period of 50 years. And I congratulate Dr. Bokil for completion of 50 years of his hospital practice recently, which is celebrated by a grand function in the auditorium in Pune. So, Dr. Bokil, welcome to this program. Congratulations for your successful 50 years of career and hospital practice. And please start your presentation. I will go to the next slide and then you will start speaking. Thank you so much, sir. Thanks for accepting your invitation.
Thank you, Dr. Joshi. Am I audible? Good evening, everybody. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Joshi, am I audible? Yes, thank you so much. At the outset, let me thank the authorities of the Medico-Legal Society of India and especially Dr. Rajiv Joshi for this invitation. I am grateful to him and thank you all. Friends, this topic which has been chosen is such that I would like to share with you some of the very important from which we can all learn some of the things, incidences, events which have happened in my 50 years of hospital practice, especially where the institutions where I have been working as director or medical administrator and even abroad. Medical legal, what is medical legal? I don't have to. Somebody is talking, please mute karo.
Participants, please. All participants. All participants. All participants.
I have muted all. I request Dr. Bokil sir to mute you, to unmute your. I request Dr. Bokil sir, please unmute yourself.
I'm unmute now. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
Okay, let's start sharing the slides. I don't have to tell you what is a medical legal case, but the important thing is that in this particular series which I am going to talk, even judiciary is also equally important. Raju sir, can I have next slide? We can have next slide, please. Yeah. The first thing which many of us have experienced in the various hospitals is a patient brought dead to the casualty of an institute or hospital. I am going to share with you one of the experiences which I had where I was working as a medical administrator for about 550 bedded hospital. A call came to me at about 3 in the morning from my deputy asking me to come to the hospital immediately because there is a violence problem at the casualty because one patient was brought and CMO had declared him dead on arrival. By the time I went there, when I went there to the hospital, I saw about 300-400 political party people, and on one side was our casualty, and in between there were 3 police big vans with armed police. Such was the situation created there. Why? Because one person was brought to the casualty and the CM on examination declared him is dead. And the violence started. They started abusing him, shouting at him. 3 in the morning, first thing I did was to request everybody and their main political leader, where this is early morning, it's a 550 bedded hospital, please ask them to keep quiet. And within next 10 minutes, in presence of my deputies and my HR people, we convinced them that the doctor our CMO has done nothing. He has not even, except ECG was straight line, people is not reacting, PP, pulse PP not recordable, and he has declared him as dead. Then we convinced them to stop this violence and all that. No abuse, no shouting at the CMOs. The thing which worth learning from here, from this particular experience early morning, is that one thing which we have added now is if the patient brought dead has earlier admitted to the hospital or has he any discharge card or discharge summary papers with him. And in that case, if the discharge card consultant who is attached to this particular hospital, if he is still willing to, after telling him that the body was brought dead, person was brought dead, is he able to give DC just now, death certificate? If he is willing, it's okay. Otherwise, the best thing is to make the case MLC, medico-legal, and send the body for ascertaining cause of death for medico-legal postmortem to the local police. That's the best thing. And second thing, after this particular incident in that hospital, I was advised by police authorities to have a police chowki near the casualty. And as we usually have in our government hospitals is the one constable sitting by the casualty. In Saswan Hospital, where I was a CMO, probably way back in 1963, I had a similar experience, but at a very smaller scale. So worth learning that the highway body should be sent, don't come under any pressure of any, although the violence is too much there nowadays in various parts of our country. Many of you must have experienced this. So best is to avoid the pressure and send the body for a postmortem. Next slide, please. Next slide, we are showing the famous case of Permanent Katara versus the Union of India. Next slide, please, Raju. And which all of you know, the Supreme Court has given us a directive that the victim of a road traffic accident should not be denied. He should be given at least the first aid. Whatever is required, needful to be done. But in such cases, before the patient is sent to a bigger hospital for further line of treatment as required, the patient has the right, fundamental right under the Article 21 to have at least the first aid. Similar incidents had happened in our city where Simagad Fort, a couple with a child was the child had a fall, and by the time child was brought down and shown to some hospital, no hospital could treat him until the patient reached our government hospital so soon, where he was declared dead. Next slide, please. Raju, next slide. Raju, can we have next slide? The next slide is very interesting. And this is the thing which I had an interaction with one of the person or after our morning reporting, where I was working as a medical administrator. By about 11:15 or 11:30, one gentleman just barged into my office in spite of the security outside. And he was accompanied by another person. And he told me, I'm going to arrest you, doctor. So I had asked you under what section, and I'm showing you the IPC, which I was there on my table that time. And I told him under what section, and the IPC is here. Then he told me that he is an executive magistrate and was brought to the hospital for taking down the dying declaration of a serious patient. I said, and the security, hospital security had stopped him at the gate and asked for his ID, which he found inserted. So I told him, did you inform me earlier that you are required to come to the hospital for taking this dying declaration? You never did that. You are, and your accompanying police constable is also in mufti. You are not in your uniform. So how do you expect the hospital executive, not executive, the security to identify you? He just asked for your ID. That's all. So after that, he cooled down. Forget the arrest and all that. He had shared a cup of tea with me, and then he quieted. Then the lesson to be learned from him, that such incidences may be happening with many of our colleagues in the hospital throughout the country. But such is thing, try to cool that person, let him cool down. He may be angry, may be upset, but the best thing to learn him is to make him cool down, ask him what is the problem. He must be an authority from say, but if he is not in an uniform, the accompanying police is also not in uniform, our security cannot recognize him. So ultimately, the person cooled down and then left after having a cup of tea with me. Next slide, please, Rajiv. Can we have next slide? This is a thing which is not unexpected in our hospitals. But important thing is to learn something from this case. This is a case from one of my senior surgical person. He had admitted 22-year married lady for last 5-6 days with 20% burns. An adult patient with 20% burns, she was recovering. And he said that when he saw the patient that morning around lunchtime, she was having her lunch. He just inquired, how are you? And she said, I'm perfect, I'm okay, willing to go home. That must be somewhere around lunchtime. But by about same day afternoon, by about 5 o'clock, ward sister of that patient's ward informed him that the patient is serious and she is almost dying. So by the time the surgeon went to the patient, she was gasping and almost died in front of him. Then he called me up, okay, doctor, what should I do? In such a case, 20% burns in a 22-year lady should not have any death. We all agree surgically. So I suggested him the patient is already, the case is already MLC on admission because of the burns. So let's send the body for medico-legal postmortem to the government hospital through police. He convinced the relatives That's a very difficult situation to convince the relatives, although we don't require their consent at all during the MLC cases. So the postmortem report that day came as opinion reserved, viscera preserved. I said, let us wait for the viscera report to come. It takes usually a couple of weeks when the viscera is sent from the postmortem room through police to the chemical analyzer. And in this case, when the report came, they showed some poison in the viscera. And then the doctor could give the final cause of death. Point to be remembered in this case, that the patient was recovering in the ward from hardly 20% burns. She was having home food. And was it something given in that? It's up to the police authorities to investigate and find and do the needful. The point to be remembered, was it a case of IPC 498? Next slide, please, Raju. Can we have next slide? I'm sorry for this time taken. Death in ICU. Most of the ICU patients in our hospitals are quite serious. Some of them survive, some of them don't. But the point, I had spoken about this in Madurai a couple of years back, maybe I think 18, 20 years back, on the ethical aspect of this. What happens that a patient is inside, he is being handled by ICU doctors and nurses. But the relatives outside are unable to understand what's happening with my patient. Every 2-3 hourly, the prescription is sent out. They go and buy the medicines and give it to the nurses in the ICU. But they are hardly unaware about the progress of the patient. Progress of the patient in the what is advised is that, and that we are all doing it in most of the ICUs throughout the country, is counseling of the relatives of the patient who is admitted in ICU. They should be told, they should be informed, counseled from time to time about the progress of their patient in the ICU so that they are aware. And second thing is to provide some security around the near the ICU so that there is no disturbance to the ICU people. Next slide, please. Raju, next slide. Next slide is about death on the operation table, which is a very unfortunate thing to any surgeon. I was a director in one of the hospitals and similar thing happened in that day. A cardiac surgeon was operating on a young patient, I think some ball replacement or something, but it was going on. And they had a bad incident and the patient died on the table. I was informed, I was the director there. I advised him to make it MLC and let the body go for MLC PM to ascertain the exact cause of death. You see, there is a tremendous pressure at that time on the surgeon and on the hospital to not the saying, don't make it MLC, don't go for it. Because the moment you say postmortem, in our country, people are usually resistant and unwilling to send the body for PM. But in this particular case, same thing happened. The surgeon yielded to their pressure, took it in writing from the relatives that we have no complaint against the hospital, against the surgeon and all that. And the body was handed over without any PM or without making it MLC. And let me tell you, friends, within a few weeks' time, we got a litigation notice from that relative side, especially through their lawyers. To avoid this thing, Raju, please go to the next slides, death on the operation table. The point to be remembered is that don't yield to the pressure. Violence is immediately going to come because there are unexpected things has happened to the relatives. A patient, young patient or whatever may be the age of the patient goes into theater and the body is brought out. Is a very shock to them. But to avoid this thing, important thing is to make it MLC if it is not already MLC and insist on having the postmortem to ascertain the exact cause of death. And whatever it is, because we all know this particular case, Rashmi Fadnavis, it is there on the slides. The citation is also there. And what happened between the interaction between the surgeon and the anesthetist? Ultimately, the husband went and made it medico-legal. So advisable is to that we go as a complainant, not as a defendant. So that way, what will happen that in the court, we don't have to defend our action, what happened and this and that. Once we go, it is up to the other party to prove that you are guilty. So in this case, sometimes the question I get sometimes phone calls from our surgeons in the city. Sir, this thing has happened on the table. Patient has died, and what should I do? I always advise them, don't worry, because nowadays arrest of doctors by police on the spot is not possible, because in the Jacob Matthews case, I'm sorry, the slides are not coming up. Raju Joshi, can you just get the slides on, please? This is the first slide which is being seen. Can we go ahead with the slides? The arrest of doctors is not so easy nowadays because the Supreme Court has given guidelines now. You all must have heard about this, but just to summarize quickly, one thing is that in such a thing, medico-legal postmortem if should be done and better be done. And the dean of the medical college in that particular district or the civil surgeon or that will arrange a committee of three experts, more than 20 years of practice, and one of them should be having the same specialty as the surgical person was, whatever it is, maybe it's a general surgery, orthopedics, ENT, whatever is the gynecology, whatever it is. And then they should study it. If the dean medical college not there, the civil surgeon can chair this committee. And their opinion is binding on the investigating authorities nowadays, and accordingly they can handle the case. Dr. Joshi, can we have the further slides? I know most of the slides, so I can go ahead, but let the audience see the PPTs if you can do it. The important lesson to be learned in such cases is that every surgical case, maybe minor or major, is always accompanied with a risk. And we do take that risk. That's why Supreme Court has given a healing touch to healers. We are the healers for our patients. And Supreme Court has given healing touch to us also. That is to be remembered. To go ahead with the slides will probably take some time, it seems. Dr. Joshi must be trying to show the slides if you can. Because this is the first slide being shown. We'll have to go ahead. Now, another thing which has happened to one of the incidents which happened when I was working in the hospital as administrator, medical administrator. There are usually a couple of discharges from the wards, every ward in the evenings. So by mistake, the sister had handed over wrong discharge card with the prescription to a wrong patient. It is a composite negligence, obviously, because the pharmacist also issued the wrong medicines to the wrong patient. And that wrong patient had those tablets at the night and the morning, and he developed severe allergic reaction. He had to be readmitted to the hospital because bronchospasm, rash, and all those things were there, almost amounting to anaphylactic shock. But luckily, the patient improved and was discharged. Another incident which I remember very vividly during my hospital practice is that we have a nursing college with us, and one of the GNM nurse, after passing out, was recruited in the hospital as a staff nurse. And in one of the wards, God only knows what had happened that day to her. a patient was having IV fluids going on. She injected procaine penicillin injection, which was ordered to the patient by the consultant. She gave it intravenous. You all remember that when we have procaine penicillin to be given to, we do first skin test to the procaine. If no allergic reaction, then even if we give intramuscularly procaine penicillin, we see that the patient is observed for next half an hour to avoid any particular reaction or anaphylactic shock, because this is known to happen. So the best thing is to observe the patient for some time, and so that nothing happens. Of course, in this vicarious liability, action was taken against that staff nurse, because otherwise, I being the master of that particular hospital and I recruited her, master-servant relationship would have been there under vicarious liability. The another unfortunate incident which happens in some of the hospitals, especially the major ones, I don't want to name any particular hospital, is theft of a newborn, which is very troublesome to the patient mother and their relatives, and also to the hospital authorities. So it should not happen anytime, anywhere. Wrong baby being handed over, newborn, on the discharge of the mother. This is also very unusual. Nowadays, we are having the band around the baby also to prevent wrong babies and such mishaps, mistakes. But even then, sometimes it happens, the sisters and mothers have to be very careful. The best example, best advice has been given in such cases, the theft and the wrong babies, is to have, we do take note of the footprints of the baby on the mother's case papers. But another thing which has been suggested, although not practiced even in America, is the RFID, radio frequency ID, which is usually used in our products when we buy them from the malls and all that, to prevent the misuse. But this has not been worked out as yet in our country. The next is wrong dead body having been handed over to the patient from the morgue, especially the morgue in hospitals, maybe sometimes in private hospitals, usually only 1 or 2 beds in the morgue. But when there are 70, 75 beds in government morgue, this has happened number of times. There have been headlines earlier also. To prevent that, important thing is the proper identification by the relatives and by the morgue staff members must be done. Further to that, I have a slide. Actually, I don't know why Dr. Joshi is unable to bring those slides, but luckily I have some pointers here, so I am using them. Patient asking for a Xerox set of his own case papers, I have always noted it is an indication of beginning of a litigation. So whenever patients or relatives of the patient who was admitted to the hospital has come for a Xerox set of papers attested by the administrators, always remember that something is expected, unexpected, expected. So usually we get the case papers in our custodies, because usually the important thing is if there is a complaint from the written complaint from the patient side, maybe by him or by his lawyer, it is advised that the administrator sits with the ward sister and the particular consultants, discusses every point which has been written in the patient's complaint, maybe through his lawyer also. And every particular point, there may be 25, 30, 40 points being brought out by the patients in the complaint. Every point has to be discussed and replied. If it is a lawyer's notice, it is better to reply through our own lawyer, which is usually retained by most of the hospitals now. And because usually this is usually followed by the court process, which is we get 45 days to answer that particular process. Another thing which I wanted to bring out here is the change in the patient's records. Because medico-legally, all of us who work as administrators must know this. Because if the patient is still alive and is with us, maybe admitted or at outdoor level, in writing from him and with some verification from Aadhaar card or PAN card or other government records, we can correct it. But if the patient is dead, it is extremely difficult for the medico-legally, for the medical administrator to rectify the mistake. He will have to go to the. I had some incidents like this in one of the hospitals where I worked as the medical administrator. It was an engineering college, and one boy had a fall and something. He was admitted with the hospital as Bablu, because that was the colloquial name known to his friends there. And in a couple of days, the patient was so serious, he died. And the DC was given as the same name which was entered into the case papers. After 3-4 days, the patient was from outstation. His father came to me and showed me that my son's name was so and so. I said, now it is impossible to correct the records, especially the death certificate has been given by the hospital. It is entered into the municipal authorities. Only possible, advisable was to go to the court and prove the identity of the dead person. And upon receiving the court order, the hospital will do the necessary changes. That all of us must know this thing. One more thing which I wanted to bring in my slides before I conclude is the new thing which has been advised, and it is yet to come to the hospital because it's a law. It is still, hopefully, very soon it will be enacted by the new government, is living will. Testamentary will, which we do it, is usually opened after the death of the person. But living will is the thing which the patient, while living, must write down regarding his treatment to be given to him in his terminal days, last few days left. Whatever may be the medical cause, apart from that, if he is on a long, prolonged illness on medical treatment, or which is not getting cured, or there is unlikely to get cured. Or second thing is, if he is having a not mind clear what to do, whether to stay on ventilator, or before such patients are taken on the ventilators, many times even my seniors in my hospital had asked me, can we remove the ventilator? Can we put off the ventilator? I used to tell him, sir, we cannot do this. Because we are mainly, because otherwise that patient on the ventilator will die. To avoid that, we are putting him on the ventilator, we are trying to treat him, and hopefully he will come out. So if not that, let him have his own peaceful death. That has been our suggestion throughout. We have been practicing, all of us, like that for the last so many years. But with this living will coming up, and very soon it will be put to practice, the treating doctor, consultant, whosoever he or she may be, has the right to decide that the patient is on prolonged treatment, unlikely to come out, unlikely cure is there. So can we do something? He will, the authority of that particular hospital where this consultant is practicing and that patient is admitted there will have to form primary board consisting of 3 senior doctors having more than 20 years of practice. And then whatever they decide will be submitted to the judicial magistrate of the district of that particular area. Then he will form secondary board in which another similar, under the chairmanship of the civil surgeon or the dean of the medical college, with 3 senior doctors And one of the members should be from the same specialty which the consultant is treating. And based on their report, a recommendation or their report, the judicial magistrate will be required to take the final call. And accordingly, he can advise the consultant who had brought the case forward. So this is the complete procedure which is actually given in this particular slides, which we are unable to see those slides. I'm sorry for that. But then this is the one procedure which we can definitely take it up, and it will be a lesson to all of us, and it will solve a lot of our practicing physicians' problems in the terminal stages of a prolonged treatment of a particular patient. Dr. Joshi, with this, I think I come to the conclusion and end of my slides. And before I conclude, let me quote from the ex-Chief Justice of Justice Verma. Be you ever so high, the law is always above. Thank you one and all for your patient hearing. Sorry for the PPT not being visible, but that is what I wanted to share with you all. This some of the lessons which we have learned from this particular events which I have experienced in my practice. And it's all up to you. You are most welcome. If Dr. Joshi wants, we can have some question answers. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you, Dr. Bokil, for this wonderful speech. There's always a technical snag between slides moving when I operate slides and when you operate the slides. So there's always some technical snag, which is very difficult to understand when you are in the flow of your speech. But anyhow, most of the slides have been shown to the people, including the last slide. Don't worry about it. And we'll share the deck with participants if they share their email addresses with us. So thank you so much for this wonderful talk. And now we can have some questions. So anybody who wants to ask any question, please raise hand. And I will call name one by one for the question answer session. Any question anybody wants to ask, please raise your hand.
Thank you,
Dr.
Dr.
Arun, go ahead, Dr. Arun Mehra.
Good evening, sir. Dr.
Good
Arun
evening.
Mehra, anesthesiologist from Delhi. Yeah, I had one experience in the ICU. I just like your comments on the best course of action. It was a private hospital. A young patient was brought dead, about 30-35 years old. He was brought dead by his father. Now, the record was that young gentleman had come in the night, and he was found to be serious, and he was advised admission by the CMO on duty, the casualty medical officer, and he refused. And the casualty medical officer did have the presence of mind to write down that patient is advised admission but is refusing. Now, when the father brought this person's body, it was as if he was expecting us to do something by magic, first thing. And the second thing is that he said, we are at fault. We are the ones who, neglected him. And now to cover up our mistake, we are putting it on his son. Whereas documentation clearly showed that he had refused. So anyway, we took a photocopy of that particular casualty paper for our own records, so that if he files something, it never happened, of course. If he files something, we can prove that he was the one who really refused the treatment. Sir, this is the best we could think of that day. This was several years ago, before COVID. Sir, what would you like to add? What else could we have done in this situation, sir?
So this is a very emotional picture which you have brought out, including the father and all those things. But nowadays it is advisable, which we discussed many times, that even refusal to treatment by a patient and getting DAMA or discharge against medical advice should also, before the patient leaves the hospital, we should take refusal of treatment in writing and in presence of two unrelated witnesses. for our own protection. Because if the patient goes out and has something happens to him, and if we receive some legal notices and all those things from his side or relative side, we should have some paper which is written and in presence of two witnesses unrelated to the patient and to the hospital authorities. That will help us to protect and avoid such problems. These things are not uncommon in our country, but the blaming onto the hospital is not advisable, legally incorrect, obviously. Dr. Mehra, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Can we
sir.
have thank you. Anyway, any next question?
Any
Dr.
question,
Joshi.
please raise hands. Yes, Dr. Jamkar, please go ahead. Dr. Jamkar.
Yeah. Thank you, doctor, for such an excellent presentation. And all presentations become more relevant when you quote them with cases, because those cases and discussion go far beyond. Nowadays, I think the basic teaching for all doctors has to be that all patients coming to you are going to be in court, and therefore prepare yourself. Earlier, when we were operating on HIV patients, we were wearing gloves and taking precautions to see that every patient that is coming to is HIV positive. So on similar grounds, we need to teach all doctors, including the medical graduates, that you are going to face a legal complication of each case, and they will prepare as if your next patient is going to be in court. So I think that must be. Thank you.
Any other question? Thank you, Dr. Jamkar. Yes, Dr. Bokil, please go ahead.
Damkar sir, thank you so
Dr.
much
Bokil.
for pointing out HIV cases. I used to operate in Ruby Hall on with the all Z kit on HIV, something terminally ill problem. They usually develop lymphomas in the intestines and all that. We have to many times operate them, even if we know they are in AIDS state, to relieve them terminally. But the important thing is to take the Z-kit precautions and all safety, biological safety, biosafety measures by all the staff members, including nurses on the screen and also the anesthetist. Importantly, all of us should be.
Dr. Bokil, why don't you focus your camera, because your image is blurred.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other question, please, Dr. Joshi?
Yeah, anyone wants to ask any question? Please
Not
raise your
a
hand.
question, sir. Not a question, sir. The leaving will is already in place, I think.
Somebody is on the screen.
Please go ahead, Dr. Mahesh Sinha. Please go ahead.
Yeah, he mentioned that the leaving will is yet to come, but it is already in place in our system.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir.
Okay, now all participants are. What is JMFC? Somebody is asking what is JMFC.
Judicial
you had
That is
magistrate first
judicial
you had
magistrate
replied to
first
that.
class. So that's okay.
JMFC Judicial Magistrate First Class.
All right.
JMFC
So,
Judicial
I
Magistrate
request
First
all
Class.
participants to please switch on their video cameras. We want to take photograph of this program. In the meantime, you can raise your hands also. Please switch on your video cameras. I'll say 1, 2, 3 and just take a click. All of you, please switch on your video cameras for a second. Dr. Shivkumar Kumar, Dr. Mariam, Shubhangi, Sarmistha, Aliyama, Prakash, Padmesh Jain. Just a minute, please hold on. I will take a screenshot. Print screen. Just a minute, please wait. I have to save it. Save as. One. Save. All right. I have to go to the second screen now. Second screen. Please switch on your video cameras. Rajmal, Swarali, Dhanalakshmi, Jyotika, Manisha, Kanchana, Dr. Trans, Rita Mehra, Dorothy, Dola, Mausami Day, All of you, please switch on your video cameras for 1 minute. Let me take a picture because I have to submit it to the association that so many people have joined. Sushima, Dr. Stirumalai, Viveka, Sangamitra. All right, please. So I'm just taking the video shot. Shift print screen. Just a minute. Let me save it. Save as picture 2.
Shubhangi has some question to ask.
Yeah, anybody has question, please ask. In the meantime, let me complete my job.
Shubhangi's hand is raised there.
Yeah, Shubhangi, go ahead and ask your question. Shubhangi, please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Yeah, please ask your question.
Yeah. What to do when a patient with self-inflicted injury is brought to our hospital, even though the patient is all right, there is no problem, but it is quite obvious from the history that she has attempted suicide.
Okay.
And like she's a neighbor also, and even her parents have come.
It is better to talk to such a patient if it is self-inflicted injury, but not serious enough.
Yeah.
And take her in writing from her.
Yeah.
And then if everything all right, she can leave. But otherwise, if you think that there is some foul play in this thing, then better to make MLC and let the police investigate it. That is my advice. Not to come too much, especially if it is a known person or neighborhood or something in your own interest. That will be.
Go to the third screen. Third screen, people, please switch on your mic, switch on your video cameras. Dorothy, Mrinalini, Namika, Sudhakar. I'm just going to take screenshot and save it because I have to remake that record. Screen 3. Yeah, and lastly, if we go to the last slide, last screen, fourth screen, Vasanthi, Satya, Papiya, Sharon, Bhagyashree, Firoza, please switch on your cameras, shift print screen. I'm going to make the final thing. Save as 4. So at least now I got 4 screens saved. Dr. Bokil sir, I'm really grateful to you for your patience about the slides and presentation. 100 people have crossed for the first time in Medico-Legal Society of India's history of last 1.5 years for this program. So congratulations. There were many who could not join, unfortunately. So probably we'll have to increase our capacity for the next lecture as more and more people get interested in Medical Society of India. But thank you very much for spending your time for preparation of this presentation, interacting with me and having patience for the technological glitches for the slides being displayed early or late or whatever. Dr. Mahesh Sinha, do you want to say anything? Dr. Mahesh Sinha.
Yeah, I want to just add now passive euthanasia is legal actually. And the Supreme Court has made the procedure much more simplified in last year only, 2023.
But there was a PIL in Arun Anushan Bag's case. So the euthanasia has been now getting more and more preference, and Supreme Court is on the job. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to add something to this on behalf of Medico-Legal Society of India. This is a very important topic. Now, as Dr. Bokil has said that in 2018-19, Supreme Court has given judgment saying that there will be 3-doctor committee to decide whether there is a living will or otherwise patients should be allowed to stop the treatment. Thereafter, there will be 3 other doctor committee and they will be submitting report formed by the JMFC and JMFC will give the permission. That was the condition in 2019. A PIL
Yeah.
was filed by Common Causes versus Union of India, and it was decided in January 2023, in which this time of 72 hours of each committee was reduced to 40 to 48 hours of each committee, and record of JMFC was removed, and the district civil servant was given power to take the call and give permission and inform the junior JMFC, that is Judicial Magistrate First Class. Now, what has happened after that is very interesting. January 23, this order came from Supreme Court. December 2023, Government of India has published a guideline saying that any doctor or any patient or any relative who feels that there is futility of treatment, then they can ask the doctors to stop the treatment, and then it is necessary that doctors will hear them, because patients should not be suffering in the ICU, paying money unnecessarily, and all those things. That is what all that has been written in those guidelines. Now, that was published on 23rd of December 2023, and we received that copy in first week of January. In that month, we conducted 3 meetings of all members of the association, and we unanimously decided that we have to challenge this, because this is giving enormous power in the hands of an individual doctor or in the hands of a patient or his relatives to discontinue treatment, and right to life of the patient is being violated, right to profession of the doctor is being violated, and Supreme Court guidelines of 2023 are also being violated. Therefore, we sent a letter to Government of India on 24th of January 2024, which was not at all responded by the Government of India till 20th of February 2024. So I have filed a public interest litigation in Bombay High Court on 24th of February 2024. That matter was, all objections were removed, and on 6th of March it was listed for hearing on 11th of March. So I appeared online, and the judges said that we are not able to understand what all this is. So we said that please read one page in which we are given the comparison of Supreme Court 2019, then Supreme Court 2023, and then Government of India's guidelines. So they read that table and they issued notices to the government. After that, till date, government has not given any reply. Hearing of that matter was on 11th of this month. So I appeared in Bombay High Court. I requested them that they have to direct the Government of India to file reply, which has been done, and the matter will be heard on 24th of June. So it is nearly in 1 week's time from today that the matter will be heard in High Court of Bombay, and we will have some decision in that. And if that decision goes against us, we will go to Supreme Court. Decision goes against government, they will go to Supreme Court. But this matter has to be thrashed out. We are saying in the petition that we are aware that prolonging life and prolonging death are two different things, and we should not be prolonging death. But if there is an opportunity that the life of the patient can be prolonged, then it has to be terminated, then the decision has to be taken by 3 doctor committees, 2 committees of 3 doctors each, and not by any individual single doctor or by any individual patient or his relatives, because any person with malicious intent can end life of someone else, and that will be very detrimental, and that will be like active euthanasia, which is not allowed in this country. So wishes well for this PIL. We want to challenge Government of India stand that doctors are unnecessarily admitting patients in the ICUs. We have saved so many patients in so many ICUs that yes, it is an expensive thing. Yes, it is torturous, it is traumatic, but at the same time, we have to give an opportunity to the patient to survive, if at all it is possible to survive. If the patient has given living will, that is different story altogether. If patient has not given living will, then the intention of the doctors or intention of the patient's relatives or the patients have to be taken into consideration. And most important thing is who has the locus to say that stop the treatment. Whether the doctor who is in India, who is very sad and says that my father should not be put on so many tubes and ventilator, or the son in USA who says that take money as much as you want, I will transfer dollars, but let my father be treated in the ICU. These are the conditions which are facing in the ICU. This was told to me by senior ICU people experts in different hospitals. Therefore, we have filed this PIL, and we'll go ahead with this PL on this important topic. So thank you, Dr. Bokil, for bringing this topic at the end of your lecture. This is very important, and I love to hear your comments on this.
The whole idea of this particular talk is to share with you some of the important events which have happened and to bring out something like which Dr. Doshi has rightly pointed out, living will, a controversial thing which is happening just now. So let's see what further action occurs, and we are all standby for that. Thank you, Dr. Doshi, for the kind invitation, and I hope you all enjoyed, although there was some technical snag which we can't help. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed the lecture thoroughly. Thank you so much. And on behalf of Medico-Legal Society of India, I'm grateful to you for giving so much of your time and your kind guidance. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye. Good night. Everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Good night.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At the end, I have put in my video camera on. So that because it becomes unstable, because if I put my video camera on, it becomes unstable. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
You need to have a light in front rather than behind.
All members are requested to send email to Medico-Legal Society of India so that they can get copy of Dr. Bokil's presentation by email from MLSI. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Dr. Khatwal, please end the meeting for all. Dr. Khatwal, stop recording. Dr. Deepa Patel, how are you? सर चांगलं झालं एकदम मस्त. नाही नाही काय होतं तुम्हाला ते लक्षात येत नाहीये की तुम्ही जर का स्लाइड्स मूव्ह केल्या ना तर तुम्हाला लक्षात येईल हा नाही नाही मी तुम्हाला जे सांगितलं होतं ना ते तुम्ही वापरलं असतं तर इट वुड हॅव बीन बेटर पण एनिवे नेक्स्ट टाइम सम अदर टाइम हा आणि काही प्रॉब्लेम नाही थँक्यू सो मच सो काइंड ऑफ यू अहो सर 100च्या वरती पहिल्यांदा गेले आमचे हा नाही नाही फार महत्वाचं आणि इट वॉज व्हेरी काइंड ऑफ यू टू स्पेअर द टाइम आय एम ग्रेटफुल टू यू सर सो काइंड ऑफ यू थँक्यू बाय